Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name's Lysha and I'm the owner of Lysha Be Creative, and in today's tutorial I'm going to show you how to create this tattoo and floral design with a rhinestone drip. So of course everything will be listed and linked down below. Feel free to also check that description box out for some discount codes. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Today I am working with a couple of items out of one of the most recent subscription boxes from Lysha Creations. It's this beautiful vinyl with some red and pink roses, and then the glitter that was with that bundle as well is Forever Young. So I'm going to be starting and prepping, of course, a 20-ounce skinny from Maker Flow Crafts. I've just taken that out of the box, and I'm going to take that sort of piece of metal circle off the bottom, then get this all prepped, that way I can get it spray painted. So I'm just taking about 60 to 80 grit sanding block here, really just scruffing up the surface. The goal here is just to remove the shine from your stainless steel in order to prep your cup. Now if you choose to prep, that is completely up to you. I have done cups that have been prepped, I've done cups that have not been prepped. I prefer to prep. It might be an additional step, but it's just kind of my preference of choice. And yeah, so after I've done prepping my cup, I've cleaned it off with 91% rubbing alcohol, and I'm going to go ahead and take this over to my spray tent, and I'm going to spray paint it with Stiletto from Color Shot. This is a satin paint, I believe, so we're going to go ahead and get this spray painted so we can get started. So I've spray painted that. It is all nice and coated. I absolutely love Color Shot paints. Literally, it is the best spray paint ever. I never have an issue with like drips or streaks or anything crazy happening with that paint. It's just my go-to. So we're going to move on to glittering this cup. And so I am going to be glittering using the tack it method. And so this is the method where you apply this glue. This is tack it over and over from Aleene's. It's the Aleene brand. You can buy it at any craft store, or you can buy it online like at Amazon. And we're going to apply this tack it glue just like we would Mod Podge, and we're going to apply a rather thin coat of this tack it over and over. We want it to be an even coat so that we can make sure everything dries in a consistent way. That way we don't have any clumps of the glue anywhere and cause some issues if we don't allow it to dry entirely. So I'm just going to take my time really spreading out all of this glue, making sure I get a pretty even coat all the way around the cup from top to bottom. And then, as you guys always know, I am super impatient when it comes to letting glue dry. So I'm always speeding up the process with my heat gun. Should you not want to do what I'm doing and speed up the process, usually the tack it over and over takes about 15 to 20 minutes to like completely dry. And when it is dry, you'll notice that the glue is completely translucent, so you can't see it anymore. But when you touch your cup or put your hand upon your cup, you'll feel that it's super tacky, and that's exactly what we want for this. So after I've gotten my glue dried, we're going to go ahead and use Forever Young. So Forever Young is this beautiful, beautiful bright red glitter. It is kind of, I guess I would say it's kind of a medium cut, I think. Another similar color to Forever Young is Red Gem, which is also from Lysha Creations. I really love this like bright red in your face color. It's just such a unique color that I definitely don't use enough of. So I was really excited to be able to pull this one out and be able to use this color. So I'm going to go ahead and finish getting my glitter applied, making sure I get nice even coverage all over with my glitter and that I don't have any exposed glue whatsoever. Then I'm going to pick up my glitter here, just put that right back in my glitter bottle here, and then this is where the magic happens. So I love tack it method. I don't use it super often because often when I'm glittering cups, I love to create different dimension, and you can't always get that with the tack it method. But tack it method is great for this cup that I'm going to show you because you get that gorgeous color, but you still get a lot of sort of a unique look, I should say, to how the glitter lays. So after I put my glitter away, I'm just going to take my gloved hand and just rub up and down on the cup. The idea here is to flatten or burnish down the glitter, and it gives us this beautiful like sparkly shine, but almost looks like it's been like wrapped, you know, kind of like car wraps. It gives like that chrome finish, and I absolutely love how tack it method looks when you're doing it with glitter. And you can do this with any cut of color when it comes to glitter. I've done it with chunky, I've done it with super fine. It all works really well. You just kind of get a slightly different look based on what sort of cut of glitter you're using. So I'm going to put the excess of that glitter away, and we're going to go ahead and get this on the turner to add a layer of epoxy. So I did 2 coats of epoxy. Of course, you guys know I am using Flynn Sisters Premium Epoxy. It is my go-to, and I literally haven't even been really using my fast set recently because I'm in love with this epoxy. So I did 2 coats for a total of 40 mLs, and then this cup was ready for me to take it off the turner so that we could work with these awesome different pieces that we're going to be adding to create the beautiful elements of our tumbler. So I'm using a full sleeve temporary tattoo, and I'm also going to cut up those florals out of that sheet, just ones I want to use. And then I have grabbed a Drip SVG from Creative Fabrica, one that I've used in a previous design actually exactly like this, which I'll place right here. And we're just going to use that to apply around the top. Now, normally what I would say as I'm wrapping this drip around here, normally I would have done the tattoo first and all the floral decals, then epoxied, and then done the drip over top. However, I was in a crunch for time, and so I knew in order to be able to place all of these things at the same time, I needed to start with the Drip SVG first, because I wouldn't be able to apply this after I've gotten the tattoo on, because the tattoos, although they are really easy to apply, they're also very fragile, even more fragile than water slide, I would say, just because there's no sealant on top of a tattoo, a temporary tattoo. So I knew it was really important that I applied the drip first, because if I tried to put, transfer tape over my drip and apply it after I've gotten the tattoos, I probably would end up with a hot mess and destroyed a bunch of the tattoo that I had put on the cup. So you'll notice too that I've applied this drip. I didn't use any tape whatsoever, transfer tape, to apply this. I just kind of rolled it on. It was kind of the easiest way that I can think of. But you'll notice I didn't go all the way to the tip of the rim. The reason why I didn't is because typically when I try and apply vinyl too close to the top like that, I'll get a lot of buckling and a lot of crinkling around the edge. So to avoid that, I've just moved that down slightly, and you'll see that we're going to go back in later and we're actually going to color that in with some alcohol ink so that it looks completely seamless and you're not even going to know that that extra red glitter was exposed at the top. Now it's going to be time to apply the temporary tattoo. So I've just split that full sleeve of temporary tattoo into 2 sections that I am going to use to fully wrap the cup. What I am going to tell you is that it's better to use warmer water with temporary tattoos than cooler water. I just find that the tattoo, the backing of the tattoo, releases much better with warm to almost hot temperatured water. So you're going to apply these just like you did to your arm when you were a kid. And once you've removed that top sheet, that protective sheet, that is kind of it. Once you've stuck it to the cup, you can't peel it up, because when you peel it up, it will remove and will damage your tattoo. So make sure wherever you're going to place it, that you place it face down and you leave it there. So now I'm just going to take some paper towel and of course some hot to warm water here and just rub back and forth on the back of that, getting that really saturated with the water to make it that much easier for that backing to slide right off without any issue. I know that the tattoo is adhered really well and ready to come off the backing when I can see the print all the way through the backing of that back paper, and that's when I know I'm ready to remove it. Don't worry about that bottom section there. I knew that that wouldn't adhere, and we're actually going to be covering up that section with some alcohol ink as well. So I've got that first part applied, and I did apply that right over the drip because, again, normally I would have done tattoos, then done the epoxy, then done the drip, but because I was pinched on time, I decided to put everything on the cup now and then do my final coats of epoxy. So now we're going to go ahead and put a tattoo, the other half of this temporary tattoo, I should say, on the back half of this cup. And so what I'm trying to do with both of these tattoos is really just make sure that when I apply them to the cup, that they're covering up all of the glitter. Sure, I might have a couple small sections, but ideally I want it to almost look like a seamless water slide wrap with the way that I'm applying it and not have any glitter exposed, because having that glitter exposed without any of that tattoo around it is really going to give a more disjointed look, which I don't want. I want a very cohesive look to the overall design. We will be able to go in, of course, with, some of the florals and cover up any areas that maybe didn't look the way I wanted it to. But the idea going in is that I'm covering up this entire cup with my tattoo before I'm ready to lay any of my floral decals down. Same deal here with the back side, using that warm to hot water to really make sure that the backing of that temporary tattoo is saturated. I am holding my cup in my hand versus having it laying on my silicone mat because I want to make sure I don't damage the tattoo on the other side. So just be mindful and be careful of that, because obviously anything that your temporary tattoo touches could potentially damage it. So that could even be damage caused by your silicone mat while you're applying the other half of the tattoo. So we're going to go ahead and remove the backing. I did again overlap one edge and both edges, I should say, both sides there. And so I will go up those areas with some of the floral decals that we're going to apply next. But I'm going to push any of the excess tattoo just down over the bottom. Again, we're going to cover this up with some alcohol ink anyway, so you're not even going to see that. So I'm going back and just making sure that the tattoos are placed nicely and that there aren't any air bubbles, kind of just adding a little bit of water to my paper towel and just rubbing those sections out very gently to make sure that I don't have anything that's going to look funky under epoxy. So any air bubbles, anything, any lint, anything like that that's going to look weird. I'm going to let this dry for about 20 to 30 minutes and then we're going to come back and add our floral decals. So I've attached my cup to my Bling Queen 2. This was just the perfect thing to use. That way I could kind of manually rotate this and have full access to both of my hands while not having to hold that cup arm. So I've just attached this to my Bling Queen 2, which typically you guys know I use for blinging, but it's also perfect for applying decals. So I'm just going to take the cut up florals that I used. And these florals came with some greenery around the edges, like some green leaves on some of them. I did cut those sections off because I just wanted the actual roses, the pink and the red roses. I didn't want that greenery because I wasn't going with anything green aesthetic-wise on my cup. So I just cut those off so that I only had the roses and the florals present. I cut various sizes. I tried to cut quite a few large ones, but also cut a few small ones as well because I knew that I would need some of the smaller ones to cover up small details that maybe didn't look right on the cup, or if I'm trying to cover up the overlap if it didn't look correctly. I was using these florals to kind of cover up some of that and any open space that I wasn't really fond of. So I'm trying to keep most of my florals towards the bottom, of course, because most of the cup after it's gone under its final coats is going to be rhinestoned. Because this Drip SVG is so long, I want to make sure that I am keeping my florals out of the way of the Drip SVG because I want to be able to rhinestone those sections. So I'm just being really kind of careful and thoughtful in how I'm placing things. Obviously, if I had a coat of epoxy in between, I could have done a little bit more playing around with this and maybe sliced some of my floral images or cut around them so that it could show under the Drip SVG, if that makes any kind of sense. But I didn't have the time to really do that. So I'm kind of just placing these directly over top of the tattoo. But I'm making sure to, once I've placed that, I'm not obviously trying to remove that and lift that back up off the cup, because if I do that, I'm definitely going to be ruining the tattoos that I spent that time applying. So, of course, apply your decals wherever you feel fit. I tried to keep most of them to the bottom and kind of did almost a full wrap of the red and pink roses around the bottom edge of the cup, just to give this a unique design, because I really loved the skull face right at the front section of this cup. I just think it's so dark and gothic. It just looks so cool. So this is meant to be just one of those fun designs that I have created previously but hadn't included tattoos. And I just think that this is such a cool and unique way to do and include rhinestones, but also include other different elements that really can be really easy and forgiving to work with, especially for many of us who may be starting this tumbler journey, just getting started with tumblers. This would definitely be one of my easier cup tutorials that I would say would be great for beginners, even when you're talking about the rhinestones, because we're going to do scatter method for the rhinestoning. So I really think that this is a pretty, beginner to intermediate level tumbler design that I think many people could really get away with. So I'm just going to finish this up. I'm going to speed up the rest of this process because it's just me applying the decals that I've just cut out. These are semi-transparent decals from Lysha Creations. It's a full 12 by 12 sheet that you could use as a wrap, but of course I'm choosing to use as singular details, which you guys have seen me do in a lot of my tutorials. You guys can tell, I'm sure, that I am in love with these decal sheets because it just makes things so much easier when it comes to creating. And if it means I don't have to fight with my Cricut and the print and cut feature, I'm for it. So once I'm pretty satisfied with all of my decals, now that these are all placed, we're going to very quickly just grab some alcohol ink and we're going to get this kind of touched up and fix where we need to. So I'm using Black Hole from Jen's Crafted Gems. This is her ink from her black ink from her primary pack. And what I'm using is actually some magic erasers, the ones that do not have the soap in them. So just the original erasers, magic erasers. So you could use makeup wedges. I've been using this because it's what I had on hand, and I saw Jessica Flynn use it, and she used like, you know, the no-name brand in her tutorial, and I was like, oh my gosh, why did I not think that would be like the perfect material to utilize for creating or using alcohol inks? And I really do love using these. They definitely absorb a bit more ink than the regular makeup wedges I was grabbing from the Dollar Tree, but I really do like this as an alternative, and I know that I can get these like off-brand, you know, magic eraser style sponges at the Dollar Tree. So that's definitely going to be something I'll make sure to pick up on my next trip. So what I'm doing is I'm just putting a little bit of alcohol ink on my little sponge there, and I'm just kind of covering up the bottom here. I'm going to make the entire bottom of this cup black. It's just going to help everything kind of blend really well when it comes to the bottom edge that's got some of the tattoo on the bottom, but because it was wrinkled, it just made sense to cover up the bottom with black alcohol ink, since I know I have to go around the top rim as well, right, to cover up the edge that we left that was exposed red glitter. So the final thing I'm doing is just touching up a couple things kind of on my tumbler, just where the skull eyes were. I noticed that there was a little bit of discoloration just because it looks like my tattoo might have gotten scratched or, you know, scraped a little bit, probably when I was trying to apply the other tattoo on the other side. So I just decided to go over that section very carefully with my black alcohol ink. Again, a little bit of black alcohol ink definitely goes a long way, so be mindful of that. Certainly dab the excess on, you know, whatever paper you're using to, you know, keep your space clean. And I find that that really is helpful to controlling the amount of ink I have on my sponge. So now that that is applied, we're going to go ahead and let this dry. I let it dry until the inks were completely dry. Ideally at least 24 hours, but I really let it dry for a good 6 hours or so before I epoxy. So while that is spinning, I have put together this beautiful mix that I have with a bunch of different stones that I had in my stash. So I have quite a different kind of list of stones that you're definitely going to want to check out down in the description box. But I'm using Opal Luminous Pink from Flynn's Sisters Supply Shop. I'm also using Deep Diamond in a scatter mix from her shop as well. I then have some Skylight stones from Crown Crystals, as well as some Jet Black, which are from Flynn's Sister Supply Shop as well. Oh, and I also have some red stones as well. So I'll link everything and put also the list of them on the screen here and where you can grab them from. So remember, you can save 10% off of Rhinestones and Epoxy when it comes to Flynn's Sister Supply Shop. And so that is great for grabbing up these stones. I love creating these beautiful mixes. I decided to kind of go, instead of with a black rhinestone drip like I did the previous cup in this style of, I decided to do a kind of more scattered mix of various colors that complemented the cup. So going with like the pink, the really bright skylight, and some black, I think and the red just really, I feel like complemented all of the colors with the cup and the aesthetic that I was going for, and also just gave a really fun like rhinestone drip look. So what I'm doing here, as you guys have seen me do, I'm just going around and placing my first line of stones. I want to make sure that these are completely dry before I go into doing the rest of the rhinestone work. That way I don't shift anything and we don't end up with some stones that are over the top that are easily going to get knocked off with use. So now, of course, I am going in, and again, we're doing the scatter mix here. So here's a little bit of an up close here as I finish things up. Scatter mix is literally just applying stones wherever they fit, doing your best to cover up with all the various sizes each and every spot of that SVG to make sure it's covered. So this is what it looks like finally. Definitely, if you have questions, be sure to leave them down below. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought about today's video. I feel like this came out so awesome. I cannot wait to get this listed on my site, and if no one snags it, you know that I'm probably going to keep it for myself. So if you loved today's video, give this video a huge thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys again soon. Bye!